Hi, welcome to the Fiber Arc. My name is Bethany and I'm going to show you a few steps on how to make the border collie. In our kits comes everything you need. We have step-by-step instructions, we've got the colors of wool, and also a foam pad. We order these specifically from a place in Calgary, which is local to us, and they make it with North American foam. We do also have an alternative that we've been using and developing for quite a few years now. It's filled with wool, it's slightly more environmentally friendly, and it's also more durable and more comfortable. So we like these. We also we have them for sale on our Etsy site and also on our website, and we fill them with wool, and on the one side we have like darker natural colored Romney wool, and on the lighter side we put either a Dorset or Merino. We find it's just a nice cushioning to use, and it also is very nice and supportive as you're working. With the Border Collie, I'm going to start by showing you the basics of what you're going to be doing. All of our kits have this wonderful diagram in them, so you know with each piece of wool you're actually just rolling it up to the size that you see on the diagram. And this is really useful because it keeps your Border Collie in proportion and to scale. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your fiber, and it's quite useful inside the kit to take a look at what you're making and divide your wool accordingly. So you'll come, in your kit comes like a whole strip of wool, and you can just divide that into a few pieces so that you know you're going to have enough for finishing up work at the end. We do put extra wool into the kit, so you should have more than enough, but it's always good to kind of have a gauge on each piece. So with our needle felting, we don't put any wire inside of our kits. We do put some in our moose kit, just so that his legs are a little bit thinner and he stands up and moves a little bit more. We don't tend to put wire in the kits just because the Shetland wool is really sturdy and it creates a really nice base for all of the felting, and it's just easier to not have to deal with wire. But he is one that you can use wire, and we just put that into the hip joint when we're making him. But back to the Border Collie. You're going to take just a small section of fiber, and you want to roll this nice and tight. The tighter you roll it, the less time it takes to felt, and also the firmer your little section that you're making is going to be. And you want those legs to be nice and firm so that they will support what you're making. So you want it to probably be as firm as like a piece of fruit, like orange or a banana, nice and firm. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm pinching it and I'm rolling it, so nice and tight. You want to really get all those fibers wrapped around. And then, as I was saying, you can actually put this onto the diagram and say, you know, yeah, that's about the right size. And this will shrink a little bit as you're felting, but that's okay, that's what it should be doing. So you're going to take your foam pad and you're going to just grab a felting needle, and then you're going to poke in and out. Just little movements. You don't need to poke very hard. The barbs are just on this last section of the needle, so it's going to take the wool and entangle it together. And it's going to take a few minutes to get this to be nice and firm. You want to just keep turning it and poking it. And you're going to do that with all of the sections in your, to make up your Border Collie. And there you go. The body is the same thing. You're taking a section of wool, you're rolling it a little bit longer and flatter. You can see the shape on the diagram that you're wanting to make is like an oval shape. And you're going to take it and roll that into an oval. And then again, you're just going to poke this all over with your needle and keep turning it and poking it until it becomes all smooth. The firmer that you can make it and the smoother you can make it, the quicker things attach. So you want to keep going until it's quite a snug, firm feel. All of our kits start out in the pictures section of our instructions with like an overview of all the parts that you're gonna need to make. So using your diagram, and I'm just gonna show you those. And the next stage, as you can see on the diagram, is just to put them together. So here you can see that these white legs have been made, and then a bit of black wool has been wrapped around. And what you're going to do is you're going to put them onto your Border Collie body that you've already made, and you're going to felt through them both. And you're going to do the same with the back legs. Now around each leg, you're also going to take a section of black wool and wrap it like a bandage. This smooths the transition, but also makes the leg just a little bit more sturdy. Just helps keep the structure. You're going to just wrap that around. It's better to put it onto your foam pad when you're working. And then you're going to just keep poking with the needle. Just remember to keep just poking gently. Doesn't need to be firm, like doesn't need to be a hard poke. Just little pokes. So once you have all of your legs attached, you can go ahead and attach the neck to the body part that you've been working on. You just place a little bit of wool fiber at the back of the head, or you can just put one on top of the other and felt through them both. And then what you're going to do is, as on this one, you're just going to wrap a piece of wool around the neck. So take a tiny bit of fiber, and that builds up the next section of the Border Collie. And then again, put it onto your foam pad and felt into that. Once you have all of your legs and your head attached and everything, what you do is you put your markings onto your Border Collie. To do that, you're just going to take some of your white colored wool, and you just put it underneath anywhere you see a Border Collie marking. It's all on the diagram and photographs that you can look at to see where you're going to put your white fiber. Or if you have, if your dog is a Border Collie and you want to put different markings, feel free to just put them where you see them to make them more customized to your dog. And you're just poking that fiber in on top. Now I'm going to show you how to put the silky chest hair on the front of your Border Collie. One of the nice aspects of this Border Collie is that it makes it look really quite real when it has the chest hair on, and it's a merino silk blend, so it's a very shiny fiber. Now this doesn't felt so well integrally. It's just more of an aesthetic thing on the outside, so you're just going to take a small section of it, and what you're going to do is you're going to make it folded in half and then have a little piece of the woolly fiber, this woolly Shetland fiber that will felt well, and you're just going to twist it into a staple to hold your fiber. So just like that. And you're going to put that onto your border collie. And then you're going to felt along this bit of wool. And this is going to hold that silky fiber onto the border collie. Just like that. And we use this technique on quite a few of our kits that we offer. We also put this onto our reindeer and on the pony for its mane. And so you'll see it quite a bit. We also put it on our hedgehog and our sheep, but I'm going to show you how to do that just a little bit later in this clip, so you can get an idea of how to use that in other felting too. What you can do now the silky hair is on is just smooth that transition with some of your white wool. So around the back of the collie's neck. A lot of times border collies have a sort of triangle between their ears. And if you don't felt this neck section completely, it kind of makes it a bit more of a fuzzy texture to it. And it doesn't need to be felted really, really firmly. It can just be loosely sort of felted on there. And that way it's a bit more fuzzy and warm looking. So now that's on, I'm going to show you how to do the face markings. And what we're going to do is we're going to just coat the nose section, his muzzle area, with a thin layer of white. Keeping it thin means that it sort of has some of the black fibers showing through, which makes it sort of like a grayish sort of spots coming through, and you'll see on dogs a lot of the natural muzzle color is kind of more of a grayish tone. And just follow the diagram for where you're going to place the white, unless you have a border collie and you want to match markings. But usually it runs from under the chin and connects to their chest. So it's going to take just a few moments to keep poking all that fiber until it's attached and smooth. But you're just working with small sections of fiber and little adjustments at this point. And you can also rest it on your pad as you're working. Just gonna take a small section, probably even smaller than that, just a little section, to do the little blaze part that comes down his head. And to do tiny details like the eyes, what we do is we include some brown wool just to form a little circle to put your black eye into. And we don't use glass eyes. We find it's just nicer to use the natural wool. So I'm going to take just a small section of brown. This is a natural brown color. The Shetlands come in lots of different colors, and that's really, really nice because there's less dyeing involved, which is not only nicer on the environment, it's a joy to work with the colors that look so realistic. So I'm just going to take that fiber and I'm going to sort of just roll it a little bit between my fingers just to kind of smooth and organize those fibers a little bit more. And then I'm going to poke it. Technically I could be resting this on my foam pad right now if needs be. And this just forms the circle around where you're going to put your eye pupil section in. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit of black wool and then roll that between my fingers. And then you just set that in place and then felt it on. Actually, it might be a little bit big, so I'm going to divide that in half probably and take half as much. It's just a tiny bit of fiber. And then poke that in. And that makes the eye. You can also do the nose by that sort of similar technique, just taking a little bit of black wool, putting it on, and felting it in place. If it isn't big enough, you can simply add more wool. Or if it's too big, you can keep poking, or up to a certain point you can pull it off and put a new one back on again. It's all pretty forgiving. You can always cover it over and try again. This one's a little bit small, so I'm gonna take a bit more wool and put it on top. I like a nice big nose. To form the mouth, you're just going to take a tiny bit of black wool again And you're gonna kind of roll it into like a thin, I would say like a thin cylinder shape, but it's like a little thin piece of wool. You can cut that if you want to, or you just pull a section off. And then you're gonna put it underneath his nose. And you're just gonna pin it there with your needle. And then you can adjust it and bend it downwards to make his mouth curve. And a little mustache. It's a little bit fiddly, you have to keep adjusting it, but just keep working at it until it's the shape that you are happy with. It can also be just straight across if that's easier for you to do. And then you do that the other side. Make it match. So he just needs a little bit more adjusting. I'd do his other eye as well, of course. And any areas that you need to build up, you can add more, and you can also do his tail. I'm going to just show you a few other things, like with his feet. If you want to bend them into doing paws, you can, I'll take one that's from the initial thing and just show you. You can just bend them with your fingers, you just bend them like that, and then you can felt into that area, and that will hold it in shape. And you can make it as fancy as you want. If you want to put, claws on or markings on, you can put as much detail as you'd like. This is also the technique that does the tail as well. It's the same thing. You're bending the tail, and you're going to poke that all over to hold that curved shape. It's also worth mentioning on the Border Collie, on their face, they're quite wide on their face and then have quite little narrow snouts. And so what you can do is build up the sides of your Border Collie's face. If you think of it like sort of a rectangle shape across between their ears, and then like a pointy cone shape for their muzzle. What you can do if you find it's not quite wide enough, you can just felt more wool. And so if you look at the side of the shape of the face now, you'll see it's a little bit different. And that's just by adding more wool to the side there. So to attach the tail, you're just going to put one on top of the other and felt through. And also any detail work like the ears, what you can do is put a tiny piece of your black wool and use your foam pad and make the shape that you see on the diagram. So you're just gonna poke those small pieces and keep your fingers a little bit of a distance from it. And then you'd flip this over and work on the other side until it's nice and smooth as well. If you leave one end that you intend to join fuzzy, that really helps. Not only does it make it smoother, it joins quicker and it's a firmer join. So I'm going to move on and show you a few things with a few of our other kits that we do and a few of our new kits that we do. So I'm going to show you one of our newer kits. It's the alpaca or llama kit. What I love about this kit is that it has alpaca hair in it, alpaca fiber, and we use that as just a final coat, but it's also really lovely to feel what an alpaca is like. I'm going to show you today with the llama how you put the final coat on top of it. So you can see this is our finished llama. Absolutely lovely. And I'm going to take a section of gray fiber, so you can see it'll be enough to wrap around the body. Take about that much. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a tiny bit of the fiber and make a staple to hold this fleece onto, and that way you can leave the fleece a little bit looser on his back to give it more like texture. And you're just going to make a staple using your wool and lay it across the back of the alpaca. And then you're going to take your needle. You're going to take your needle and you're going to poke along this edge. I know. And you can just keep poking this until it disappears. And then all of that fiber will be held by this strand that runs down the back. And we use this technique on our pony kit as well, and on the border collie you've seen. And then this way, it's held on there. And we use this technique also on our Highland cow as well. You may have seen that one. And this way you have that loose, shaggy kind of look that llamas do have. So next up I'm going to show you how to do the locks on our Christmas sheep. It's a very similar process to how we did the llama hair variation. And he's part of our Christmas nativity. You'll see him with the little shepherd there. And he will have a white sheep accompanying him. And you can do this a couple of ways. You can either lay the fibers across just like you did with the alpaca or llama, and you can lay them across his back and just loosely felt him all over. This looks so natural because these are just washed locks directly from our sheep. And if you just lightly felt these in, they will hold. And you can do that all over him. You can also take individual ones, so sections of your curly locks, and felt them on individually. This way you're just putting them in sort of a mini version of what you're doing when you do them larger. And you're just taking a few and needle felting down just the middle part. And those will stand up on your sheep, so they're nice and poofy, and you can just poke the additional fibers in around them just to support them. You can also do this and rest your work onto your foam pad. I should mention, when you're working with your foam pad, you can keep one side for light colors and one side for dark colors. Sometimes it's easier to use the opposites so that you get a higher contrast, but equally it's just keep one side for your lights and one side for your darks. That way the fibers won't come off on a white project or a darker project when you're working with them. So I think that's just about all for today. Thank you so much for joining with me and learning about needle felting. Be sure to check out our pages, our Facebook page, Etsy page, website. We're also at lots of markets, so check us out. We'd love to meet you there. And yeah, if you have any questions, be sure to email me. I'd be happy to talk to you. See you soon.